Only a couple more minutes.
Hi, Rebbe.
Hi.
No one else got a sitter for YBH, right?
What?
I'm talking to the boys. Did no one? Did no,
No,
one?
I didn't. I don't know about anyone else.
I didn't either.
Wait, Krimsky, you did?
I did not.
Okay, good. I got one.
And they dropped off a sitter?
Drop it off. What?
What sitter from IBH?
I'm gonna get it stamped though.
You get Halacha Zayin? We get Halacha Zayin, but yeah, we're Halacha in the middle. We get Halacha Ches. No. Yeah, we have Halacha Ches. Okay. I'm going to put it on the screen. Halacha Zayin, no Halacha Zayin.
We're in the middle of
Yeah, in the middle of Halacha Zayin. Yeah.
Gemara and Halacha Zayin, right? Yeah.
1 second. Okay, so we are last week we talked about that Halabai Osi Sorosi Shamaru Shema Sorasi Shamaru Shilu Osi Ozavu Sorasi Shamaru Ha'or Sheba Makarvan Etzli. So up to Rav Chuna, which you look at my screen, you can see I highlighted. Rav Chuna Mar Lamad Torah Shlo Lishma. A very famous statement. Yerushalmi Torah Shlo Lishma. But normally he's we finish that and we say the Shevatok Shlo Lishma Ba Lishma. But the Bnei Moshe stresses here that it's interesting that Apilu Shel. Let me point that out here. Apilu Shel Lishma, Apilu Shel Lishma, El Kedei Liskabi Ba. Even to get covered from it. Why? Because if you learn Torah, even to get covered from it, then that you're going to come eventually to learn the Lishma as well. But here it says the Gemara goes off in a different tangent here. So it says here, or a different direction. It says, oh no, actually I skipped the line. I don't know why I said that. That's because I was looking at the wrong line. It just says it. Never mind. What I just said, I said it was wrong. Okay, I skipped the line before I missed it. Okay, when he said that we saw a mace or a kala, miskausin, and they were being praised, right? And now the Vatel Talmud Torah for a mace or for a kala. That was for Simchas Chosim a kala or for Havoyas HaMace from a Vatel Torah. Because you have a principle. Gadol Talmud Shemedi De Maisa. That Talmud is great, not in and of itself, although that's a great thing, but the highest purpose of Talmud Torah is that it brings a person to do Maisim Tovim. Now, that means if a person never stops learning Torah to do Maisim Tovim, there's something wrong in his Torah because he has to bring it to do good stuff, not just that you should enjoy learning for the sake of learning's sake. Okay, it's good to enjoy learning for the sake of learning's sake, but you also have to stop in order to do things l'maisa. Now, when it's not always so simple, how do you decide that? So the Gemara says, Nimnu b'aliyah's base arim. They got together in a lot of times, but for some reason, Chazal, when they got together to discuss something, they got together in second floors, not on the ground floor, on the second floor. Maybe it's easier to think on a second floor. maybe less distractions on the second floor. I don't know. But anyway, lots of times they get together in Aliyah and they think things together out in the Aliyah on the second floor. And they said, Hatalmud koydem lamaisa. They said learning is koydem lamaisa. So it seems to be a contradiction. Which one is it? Is it Gadol Talmud maybe they maisa? Or is that Talmud koydem lamaisa? The Talmud takes preference for maisa, which is the proper approach, right? So the Gemara brings the story. Rabbi Avo have a Kesari. Avo was in Kesari. Shachar Brei Mizake B'Tveria. He sent Rabbi his son, Chania's son, to learn in Tveria. Literally, to be Mizake means to be Zeichet to learn Torah. Okay, so he wanted to check out how he was doing. Sholchun v'Amulei. So they sent back a message. Gamal Chesed. He's involved in learning Gemilos Chesadim, meaning he's not learning so much, but he's very much involved in doing mitzvahs. So Rabbi Avo was upset about this. He said, he sent him a message. Are there not enough graves in Kesarim that I would have sent you to Tveria to find more graves? Meaning, we start with what was the Gemilos Chesed he was doing? What's called the Chesed Shel Emes. But you do chesed with the niftorim, there's people who pass away because they can't reciprocate. They can never do chesed to you back. So if the highest one chesed, do chesed with somebody who's no longer alive. So he said, okay, you think that I sent you there to Tveria in order that you should be able to find more graves? There are enough graves here in Sipori. You do Avoyas Hameis and Furas Hameis in Kesarim. You be able to do Avoyas Hameis and Kivuras Hameis. I don't have to say it to Tveria for that. I said Tveria to learn, right? Valok Varnimnu. Varnimnu Aliyah's base Arim Belud. They made a decision in base Arim and Lud. Hatalmud koydem lamaisa. So what? Stop getting involved in Chesed and start learning. So Rabbanan Kesarim Amin. The Rabbanan Kesarim said, yeah, so it depends. When is Talmud koydem lamaisa and when is Gadol Talmud shemevli daimaisa? When does Talmud take preference and when does learning take preference and when does the Maisa take preference? Right now, by the way, Talmud koydem lamaisa here means it's a preference, but you could also learn it differently, right? You can say Talmud koydem lamaisa, that it comes before the Maisa, but then you have to do the Maisa. But that's not the way the Gemara is learning it. It's not saying that Talmud comes before the Maisa and then you do the Maisa. They say Talmud koydem lamaisa means it takes preference. It's more important than Maisa. So it says Gemara, but it can resolve this contradiction. I mean, they said, if that's only true if there are enough people to go to Levaya or enough people to be Mesameach Chasam Mekala, then you don't have to go do it. Okay, and the Gemara and it talks about how many people is enough for Levaya, and the Gemara says for some regular person so much, for time of Chacham so much, and so on and so forth. But anyway, if there's enough people, then you don't have to go do don't have to go do the Maisa of Simchas Chasam Kal or Avoyas Hameis. But if there are not enough people to do it, then Hamaisa Kotem Talmud. Then the Maisa takes preference over the learning. So you have to interrupt your learning in order to go do the Maisa. Okay, so again, Talmud Torah is preferable to Maisa where there are enough people to do it anyway. But where there aren't enough people to do it, you have to be Mavatal Torah yourself and go be Masech Chasakal and go be Mulav Hameis. Now it's important to understand that's just not just quantity, it's also quality. But let's say you're a good friend of the Chassan, right? And if you don't go, there's going to be something missing in the Simcha. Even if there are hundreds of people going to the Chasna, you have to go because you are intrinsic to a Simcha. On the other hand, if only a few people are going to a Chasna, and and they need people to be Mesameach, and you're a person who knows how to dance very nicely, so then you should go even though you don't know the Chasna, right? So well because they need you in order to be Mesameach. But if you don't know the Chasna so well, and you don't, and you're not going to add that much to the Simcha. You don't know how to juggle or jump rope or something like that. So then you shouldn't go. Sit and learn. Okay. So that's what he says. Now, Dilma, I don't know if we ever came across the Dilma Yerushalmi before. Did we come across the Dilma Yerushalmi? The word Dilma? What's Dilma? Bavli?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Yerushalmi means a story. Okay? And I think I once looked it up, but I didn't find a connection. I think where the sense to the English word dilemma, which is kind of like a situation. So, but I'm not sure I don't recall if I came to a conclusion or not. But Dilma, when it's in the Yerushalmi, usually means we're about to tell you a story. Okay. Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yasser, Rabbi Ami, Aning Mese the Gabi Rabbi Lezer. They were late. Coming Aning means like Inui Hadin is when you leave over. You delay a trial. It lasts you delay it too long, so they delayed. They were late in coming, right? Ani Mesa got Rebbe Lezer. They were late in coming Rebbe Lezer. Amlon Anavesun Yomadein. You asked them, where you been today? What's going on? How come we're so late today? Again, on is like aye, where, right? Vesun, were you Yomadein today? This day. Amalei said, Gamal Chesed. We were involved in Chesed. Right? So he said, as he asked them, Amar Lom V'Lava Taman Choranin. So Bilaz asked them, wasn't there someone else? In other words, why did you have to do it? Other people could have done it, like we said before. You only battle Torah for the Chesed if there's nobody else to do it. There was nobody else to do it. So Amalei, they said to him, Magir Hayava, which is Magir is like a ger, and not necessarily that he was a convert, but that he was somebody who was a stranger from a different country. The Karmel says Magir Haya, Magor it says here, sorry, but ger Hayab Eretz Nachriya, the loyal of Krovin Lisashi Sasko. He was living in a foreign land, and therefore there was nobody who was able to help him out. So there weren't enough people to help him out, so therefore we have to go. So the Gemara brings down this mice in order for us to know. Lochla Maisa, this is the halacha that if they're not enough people, then you're battle time there. Even if you're going to come late to shear, you do it in order to do the mitzvah. Okay, halacha ches. Heter adolim polchim ba'avil. That you can be matir and neder. In other words, you can go to Chacham, you can say be matir neder. It's perek ba'avil. It's flying in the air. And Karmel explains ma'at remez yesh b'mikra. There's very little hint in the Torah. Sheyuchal hachacham matir neder. That a chacham can be matir neder. And the endless smachol, I mean, you could not rely on the hints which you find in Torah Shabbat. Elakach masur l'chacham Torah Shabbat. It has to be given to chachamim by Torah Shabbat. Otherwise, we would not really be able to learn heter and nedarim. That a chacham can be matir neder. That a father or a husband can be mefer in neder, which is what they do if a wife or daughter takes a neder. That you find in the Torah, the Parshas Matos. But that a chacham can be matir neder, that's not so simple. It's not explicit anywhere in the Torah. Okay, so therefore you need Torah Shabbat for that. There's nothing in the Torah specifically from which to derive it. Hilchas Shabbos. Hilchas Shabbos, the 39 malachos are not explicit anywhere in the Torah. Chagigah, the halachos which we're learning, the halachos of Chagigah. V'ami'ilos, the halach of when you're moil behektish, when you are like stealing or abusing hektish. Harei kaharim hatluim b'saira. They're not flying in the air, but they're like mountains which are hanging by a thread. Meaning, Perek means there's nothing Torah which you could actually deduce it. Melechas Shabbos, we learn out there's a linkage between the Melechas HaMishkan and Shabbos. So we have a slender thread by which we can hang the mountain of Melechas Shabbos. Okay, it's dangling by a thread. Okay, the same thing with Chagigos and Milos. And Karei Matlim Masor Shem Mikra Memuat. There's a little bit of psukim for halachos merubos, but the many halachos well beyond what you find in the pasuk. Hadinim, the halachos of Chesed Mishpat, like Parshas Mishpatim. Va'avodos, and the avoid on the base of Mikdash, Va'ataros, Va'tmeos, Tuma and Taro, right? What's tummy and how you get tar. Va'arayos, and the halachos of inappropriate relations. Yesha Mashi Smochu, they have a lot of things in which to rely. Ve'hein and Gufei Torah, and all of them, everything mentioned in the Torah, everything Mishnah is an essential major component of Torah. But some things are, there's a lot about in Torah B'Ksav, and something there's very little about Torah B'Ksav. Elsewhere where this is brought down, Rashi brings down Chumash. I'm not sure where it brings down from. I don't think it's from the Gemara. It might be from the Medrash. He says that, Yofes Yichasin Shal Avdei Avos Yosem Mitarosin Shabani. The shmuzing of the avodim of the avos is greater than the Torah of their descendants. Why? Because the story of Eliezer, Eved Avraham, is told over twice in the Chumash, while Hilchos Shabbos are barely mentioned, right? And the Dorim we say is not mentioned at all. So the Torah places an extraordinary emphasis on the Sichos Shabbos avos much more than it does in Hilchos Shabbos. So there we understand the reasons, because Derech Eretz Kodem al Torah, right? You want to learn Torah, you have to have first Derech Eretz. So the Torah has to spend a long time teaching you Derech Eretz. And my theory about these things in the Mishnah over here in general is that although it's not quite, doesn't work out quite 100%, but my theory is that the things which were not going to be noheg at all times, the Torah had to spend a long time on. The things which are going to be noheg at all times, the Torah spent very little time on and left it mostly Torah Shpal Peh. Why is that? Because if you are saying like Shabbos, which is every week, you have to do a Hilchos Shabbos, right? So then you can leave it Torah Shpal Peh, because every week they're going to remember, they're going to discuss it, they're going to give it over. But something like the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, when they're going to be 2,000 years of no Avodah, or Tumat Tara, where basically 2,000 years we haven't really had Hilchos Tumat Tara. So then these are things which are not in constant practice, and therefore the Torah spent a long time discussing it. Okay, so that we know from the Gemara Gittin that the Ikar of Torah, the Ikar Bris of Torah is not Torah Shpal Peh. And therefore, whatever can be Torah Shpal Peh should be Torah Shpal Peh. And I think what the pshat is that anything which is going to be a frequent issue, that you can leave Torah Shpal Peh. Anything which is either infrequent or there are many years in which it won't be relevant, such as the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, that the Torah Shmiksav had to spend a long time discussing. Okay, but they're all Gufei Torah, says the Mishnah. They're all important to Torah. Is that clear? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So says good. Gemara Ten Rabbi Lezer Omer. Yesh Amashi Smochu. I have a pasuk for that a chacham can be makir in heaven. Well, so it's not flying in the air. It's also a mountain hanging by a string. What pasuk do I have? Nishbati v'akayema. So it's not a pasuk in Torah. It's a pasuk in Navi. The Yerushalmi in general is much more likely to bring a pasuk from Navi and regard it with the same level of significance as a pasuk in the Torah. I don't know why, but you find very often the Yerushalmi they bring a pasuk in Nach and give it the same level of credibility as a pasuk in Torah. And here too, he's saying, listen, the pasuk in Tehillim. Well, I can say that's Yesha Mashi Smochu. But again, the Yerushalmi's derech takes very often psukim in Nevi'im Suvim and gives it the same status as the pasuk in Torah. So it says Nishbati v'akayema. I made a shvua and I'm going to keep it. So the other man is saying, look at me, I made a shvua and I'm going to keep that shvua. So what's the big deal? Of course, you're going to keep the shvua. You made a shvua. Why would you not keep the shvua? Be also not to keep the shvua. So the Gemara says, we darshan. Pamim she'eino mekayem. Sometimes you don't have to fulfill the shvua. When don't you have to fulfill a shvua? When a chacham is matir it. So the Melch says, I'm not going to be matir my shvua. If I make a shvua, I'm going to fulfill it, and I'm not going to be matir neder. But sometimes people can be matir neder. That's a learn from Nishbati Bakayim. Even though you made a shvua, sometimes you have to be mekayim it when when a chacham is matir it. That's one possibility. Rabbi Shua Meir Yisrael Hamashi Smoch, I got another possibility. It says, we say this by Kabbalah Shabbos, L'chun Rananach. Asher nishbati b'api. I made a shvua in my anger. So why does Hashem say I made a shvua in my anger? What difference does it make whether he was angry or calm? Makes no difference, right? So it says Gemara, no, makes a difference. Asher nishbati chayzar nibi. Says the Kodesh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol. Since I made a shvua out of anger, when I calm down, I'm going to be matir neder. I'm going to go and get my shvua dissolved. Yeah.
Is that a Gemara in Baal?
I don't remember this being in the Bavli.
Okay, I remember.
Hashem Bati Bapi in the Bavli.
Yeah, it says tzaddik. Hashem was a tzaddik. I mean,
Wait,
no,
Gemara, where, Siegel?
no, sorry, my bad. I was thinking about a different pasuk.
Yeah, I don't remember being in the
It says
Bavli.
Hashem was a tzaddik. We also saying
And there, Hashem is decided there for what?
that he kept his word.
Oh, but this is I don't remember anywhere.
Oh, I mean, it is Hashem Ishbat to be happy. It's in. Maybe no, I think it's in Beria. I don't know, that's my father.
Okay, well, see if we can find it. So Tama Tanina, we learned it in Masechus Nedarim. Arba Nedarim Hitiru Chachamim. There are 4 Nedarim which Chachamim allowed. So the Gemara first doesn't understand what she's talking about. It means sounds like Chachamim are only matir. There are only 4 Nedarim in which Chachamim are matir. What about the rest of them, right? But that's the question. Are the Chachamim ones who are matir every neder, right? So, and now the Gemara brings down another source, another one of those threads by which we can hang Hilchos Nedarim. It says, "See, Vaydaber Moshe Roshei Amatos Livnei Yisrael." Moshe Rabbeinu spoke when he gave the Parshas Nedarim and Parshas Matos. He gave it to the heads of the Shvatim of Bnei Yisrael. The heads of Shvatim, they're Chachamim. From here we see that Chachamim can be matir Nedarim. So the Parshas Roshei Matos, you matirim lahem es divreim. That they can be matir the neder, right? So we see that another source and this is actually in the Chumash for a hint for the fact that Chachamim matir neder, because it says that Moses was supposed to give the Parshas Nedarim to the Roshei Amatos. Okay, and they were so therefore we say, why the Moshe Amatos? Because they can be matir Nedarim. And now we have another possibility of a pasuk. Rabbi Yerushalmi Shmuel Siva says, "Lo yachel devaro." He can't desecrate his word. If you made a neder, the person made a neder, he can't desecrate his words. In other words, he can't go back on it. So he can't do it. Lo yachel devaro. Who ain't no mocha? He can't be moichel his own neder. So Gemara is saying yachel, even though it means to desecrate, it could also be taken to mean be moichel, to forgive it. So it's saying he can't be moichel his own neder. Acharahu she'osa dvarachu. Another person can come along and make his words chol instead of kodesh. So actually, we have the word yachel. It has several different meanings, right? It means he can't desecrate. He can't be moichel. He can't make it chulin. All those are meanings of yachel. So the bottom line is that he can't desecrate. Somebody else can. He can't be moichel. Somebody else can be moichel. He can't make his words chulin. Somebody else can make his words chulin. Okay, so there's a chacham shehu matir los nidro. That's a chacham who can be matir the neder. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Shem Shmuel said. Let's go to the next page. I'm not sure the Gemara goes back over here. No, I don't think one of those go back. Maybe later. But let's go back. Mara never answered the original question. The original question was, what do you mean there are 4 Nedarim when it says Aram Nedarim Yitiu Chachamim, the 4 Nedarim which are Chol Matir, every neder has to be done by a Chacham. And one of the Nedarim says, no, the 4 Nedarim in which you don't even need a Chacham to be Matir, because Chachamim in general said these Nedarim were not serious in the first place. Like the classic example is a person says, I swear that there were 1 million people there, right? And everybody knows he's exaggerating. So that in that case, you don't need a chacham to be matir the neder, because everybody knows. So there are certain nedarim, the Avai, which is one of those, and the 4th has nedarim, which you don't even need a chacham to be matir. It says chacham and matir 4 nedarim. It means these 4 nedarim chachamim or matir even without a specific going to a chacham to tell you it's mutar loch. But of course, every neder needs a chacham can be matir. A chacham is the person you go to if you have a problem with the neder, like we do on Erev Rosh Hashanah. And now we're going to the top of Zion and Aleph, and this is the source of our minhag Erev Rosh Hashanah. This Gemara here, Shlosha Shen Yoyin Liftach Matirin Kazakin. There's 3 people who know how to be posech and neder, so they can be matir just like one zaken. The chatchila, it should be one zaken, one very big time chacham. Okay, one big time chacham can be anything you need to know to make people posech b'neder. Now, that what it actually means. When I was younger and I was more meticulous about this, whenever I made a basin on Erev Rosh Hashanah to matir neder, I used to say, do you know the difference between a Pesach and a Charata? Between opening the neder and a Charata on a neder. Because officially, they have to know what a Pesach is. A Pesach in a neder means, let's say you made a neder, you're going to the mikveh, going to the mikveh every Erev Shabbos. And you want to be matir that neder. So a Pesach would mean, when I made the neder, I thought I'm going to have a hot mikveh nearby, and it turns out I only have a cold mikveh nearby. So that means it's like a loophole in the neder. Had I known that piece of data when I made the neder, I've never made the neder. That's a pesach, an opening by which the chacham can matir the neder. Charata is no, I knew it was a cold mikveh, and I thought I could take it. But now and for a while I did take it, but now I'm mischarit. I regret it because right now it's too much of a pain for me. So either one could be cause to be matir neder, either Pesach or Charata. But Chacham has to know whether it's being matir on the basis of a Pesach or on the basis of Charata. So the Gemara is saying here
You
that
used to ask every time if to the people in your base then if they knew the difference.
Yes, and then if they didn't, I would tell them the difference.
Is that the preferable way?
Yes, but it was probably very annoying. So I stopped doing it a few years ago. But that's the preferable thing.
Does this Gemara come up in Bavli?
No.
Nobody likes to be with the young yeshiva bacher who don't know all the words.
So nobody likes to have them taught something like that. But anyway, this is the source, and evidently the Ran. I have down here that the Ran in the Dorim.
Yerushalmi or Bavli?
What?
Yerushalmi or Bavli?
The Ran in the Dorim, the Bavli. I guess it's the 10th Perek of the Dorim. Actually learns out our minute Erev Rosh Hashanah from this Yerushalmi. Okay. So that's
Who would be considered as zaken?
What?
Who would be considered as zaken in this star?
Oh, like the chacham of the city. You know, the Rav.
Any Rav?
Not Bisman Hazeh, but back then, when Rabbanim were Rabbanim. Yeah. So it'll be a person who's chashuv from a chacham. It just says zaken means a chacham, but it means a chacham means a person who's a chacham who's a pasek for the city. Okay, so that is society made. But I want to say Malcolm she'ein zaken. If there's a zaken in the city, you got to go to the zaken. You can't use Tweet, Tom, Dick, and Harry. You gotta go to the Zaken. Or more Larry and Curly. So the Rabban in the case, sorry, Amrin, I feel Makushi Zaken. And there's a minute with Manazeh also. That if somebody has a net they want to be matir, they go to a basin of 3. They don't specifically go to a zaken. But nowadays we assume it's a bit of gaiva for a person to say, "Oh, I'm a zaken. You can be matir netted by me. I don't need to have 2 other people." So let's go to a basin. It's interesting because in the basin, only one person has to know what the actual netter was and what the pesach and the charata is. Once one of them knows, he can tell the other guys, "Okay, I clarified it. Let's say mutalach, mutalach, mutalach."
Let's say none of them know. Then they can do it.
Only works if the guy doesn't remember the neder. That's Erev Rosh Hashanah. If the guy, since we say people don't remember the nedarim, it works even if they don't specify it. But if they remember it, even Erev Rosh Hashanah, you're supposed to specify it. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yasa. Now, they asked along the lines of who's the chacham, right? So they said. They asked for Rabbi Yasa, is Rav Huna Rashi Matos? Is Rav Huna big enough that you consider it a zaken for this purpose? And he responded, Amar Lei, in lace Rav Huna Rashi Matos, he is here like im. If Rav Huna is not Rashi Matos, if he's not considered chacham, Mani Rashi Matos. Who's going to be Rashi Matos? Rav Huna is Rosh Rashi Matos. He is the biggest of the big, right? So again, the Gemara says they asked Rabbi Yasa, is Rav Huda counted? And Rabbi Yasa answered a bit exaggerated. He says, if Rav Huda is not counted, who else could be counted? He's the Rosh of the Roshim of the Matzos. So for sure, he's okay. Okay. Now, I want to ask you a very basic question. Which actually is a parallel. This Gemara is one that's in Hedge Daf Hey in the Bavli. What can you appoint zkenim? In other words, chachamim linyanim yuchadim for specific things. Now, of course, the one that's in Hedge talks about yore yadin yatim b'choros yatir, which is the smicha b'zman hazeh. The smicha b'zman hazeh is like smicha zkenim for specific thing. In other words, we might the person has to be all know everything in order to be a chacham, or can I say no? This guy's a chacham for this purpose. That guy's a chacham for that purpose. Okay, you make a chacham to dvarim. Yishmina so let's start over here. Rav Manise Rabbi. Rav is appointed by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi lahati on the darim to be mataneder v'liros kesamim. And to see if a woman was in nida, to check out whether the blood she saw was blood which is tummy or blood which is torn. Man the damach, when Rebbe died, Rav asked his son about mume bechoros. Can I be matzah the mume when I see a mume of bechor, which you can't use bisman hazeh, there's no base hamikdash. You can't use it until it gets a mum. Can I be matzah mume bechoros? Amalos, he said, any moisdachah mashenasachah abba. I'm not giving you any more permission than my father gave you. In other words, my father gave you permission to be matzah bechoros. I'm not adding on to it.
What? So, Rav's son asked him.
What?
Rav
asked Rebbe's son. He asked Rebbe Shimon, the son of Rebbe, probably.
Oh.
Okay. Now in the Bavli, he says it. In the Bavli, it's slightly different. The Bavli says that when Rav went to Bavel, he asked Rebbe what he can paskin, and Rebbe said Yori Yodin Yodin, means you can paskin in Hilchos Isabeter, you're there, and you can paskin in Hilchos Cheshem Mishpat. But Yatir B'chor is Ayatir, but I'm not giving you permission to be Matir B'chor.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
What's the difference nowadays between your and yan?
Not much. No, it's Yodin. There's no standard for Yodin Yodin. Every yeshiva gives Yodin Yodin for different things. Technically, it should mean you know how to write, you know how to be a dayan, like write Gittin and say in Cheshem Mishpat cases. But in different yeshivas they give differently. The Chavetz Chaim, if you finish their 14-year program, they give you Yad and Yadin. And there you saw they give you Yad and Yadin, you finish Shas. In Eretz Yisrael, it's more organized. And there, if you get it from the rabbinate, Yad and Yadin, or it's called their kosher l'dayanut, authorization to be a dayan. There's a set amount of things you have to learn in Chosh Mishpat and Rebbe.
Fishberg, guys, Fishberg got Smicha and himself and Razam and Nechemia Goldberg.
Yeah, but that's just your. I have Smicha from Zam Nechemia Goldberg also. That's just your. So that's not Dayonis.
Do you have Yad and Yadin?
I do not have Yad and Yadin.
And still you're dying.
Yeah, well, that's because again, the Yad and Yadin Chutzos doesn't mean anything. So therefore, whether you have it or not doesn't really mean anything. And also, in Chutz La'aretz, the Dayanim are only Dayanim because the people are Makabel them. A Dayan only comes to Dayan because people are Makabel them, and if they're Makabel you, it doesn't matter if you have whatever, even if you don't have Smicha, they can be Makabel you.
Did you get smicha?
I have Smicha, yes. I have 2 Smichas. You're going to come to my house, and Mr. Shem can see them on my wall. Okay, so
what are they?
so we're running out of time here. So Gemara, I think we'll leave the next version for next week. The Gemara is going to give a different version of the story when Rav went to Rebbe. But like I said in the Bavli, it says that Rav was a tremendous Baki in Mumin. He could have been Matir B'choros based on looking at the Mumin B'choros. But Rebbe Danasi said, you are such an expert that you know very fine differences. But you know that this place, it is a mum, and 1 centimeter away, it's not a mum. But people see what you're doing, they're not going to understand these precise nuances. So therefore, you know too much for me to give you Yati B'choros Yatir. Because if I give it to you, people are going to, who learn from you, are going to mess up. So that's why it was kind of like a backhanded compliment. They didn't give permission to Mati B'chor because Rebbe was afraid that other people would learn from him. And the Yerushalmi was going to say something similar, not quite the same thing, but we'll get to it next week. Okay, have a good Shabbos, everybody, and a good Yontif.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good yontif.
Take care.
Good job.
Good job, Mr. Yontif.
Wait, Tzvi.
Bye.
Thank you, Rebbe.
Are you going to Schwab?
Yeah, 8:15.
Okay, fine. 8:15.